I'm Andre, and this is Osteo Knits. I can be found on Ravelry as Osteo Andre and on Instagram as Osteo Knits. This is predominantly a knitting, but also increasingly a spinning YouTube channel. I am a university professor in Northern Ontario. I live with my partner and my tabby cat, Isis. And yeah, welcome. Happy New Year. It is almost coming upon the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. I've learned a lot over the past year. I'm still enjoying this. So I'm happy to have whoever chooses to join me and continue on this adventure. I should start because I always forget. I am wearing a knitted garment today. This is the Spellman sweater by Dragon Horde Yarns, or whatever her username is. You know who she is, Tristan. Yeah. So it has these bobbles and cable detail along the sleeve. I knit this out of 2 Knit Picks yarn. So it is a sock yarn held with a mohair. So I used sock yarn. The colorway was Raven, and it's held with the Knit Picks Aloft in Rio. So both yarns were variegated. The light pops come from the mohair. It was my first time it's actually the only time I've done a garment that holds a mohair double with sock weight. Hoping to rectify that sometime soon. I would like to eventually knit her Salem sweater, which is similar but with more ease and different design on the sleeve. But this is probably one of my most worn knits. I did a 3/4 sleeve because I'm always pulling my sleeves up. And I love the color. It is comfortable. I did more kind of a cropped length, which is great to wear over dresses or with skirts. Yes. I am getting over a cold again. I do not recommend starting the new year with a cold. It is not fun. Certainly not great for setting up for classes. So I'm a little croaky. I'm not too bad, but yes, if I lose my voice partway through, that's why. So when I started recording last year, a lot of my focus was on finishing things, enjoying my stash, actually working on whips, and looking back on the past year, I pretty much failed catastrophically at tackling my whips. I have a huge whip pile of shame at home that was hardly touched. And going into 2025, that is something that I want to rectify. So again, I want to still be working from stash, enjoying the stash I have without having any strict limits on yarn buying or whatnot. Just being mindful about my purchases and less impulsive. So I'm looking at things a little bit differently from how I did last year. One thing that I'm going to try to implement is to finish 2 projects before I cast on a new one. And while it's January 7th today, and most people have probably already cast on their first cast on of the year, I have not done that yet. And while I usually have that itch of like, I can't wait for that new cast on, that fresh new thing to work on, I'm actually okay with not starting something new yet. Maybe because I'm replacing it with new spins, but I'm feeling a lot of satisfaction out of seeing visible progress on things that had been abandoned for quite a long time. Anyways, perhaps I should start with things that I have finished. One thing I can't show, in the previous episode I had shown a pair of green socks in Sock Witchery's String of Lights pattern. Those have since been gifted, sent off to their recipient, so I can't show those off, but I do have some other things I can show. All right, let's put these on sock blockers. So I have two tests actually that were finished. One is a pair of socks. These are a design by Things Beth Makes. There we go. So here is the finished pair. They are mirrored so that on each sock this lace design is on the outside. I knit this using the main color is a flake from the Frosted Stitch, and the toe and cuff is Depths, also from the Frosted Stitch. These are DK weight socks, which is really fun given that they knit up so quickly. So this pattern is called Indirect Flight. As I mentioned, it is by Things Beth Makes. She designed this pattern to go with this year's Mr. Stitch monthly collection from the Frosted Stitch. Now, this year's theme is expeditions, and it is inspired by various Josh Gates shows, but most of them explore kind of mysterious things, legends, stories, real life events throughout the world. And Krista is kicking off January with an Amelia Earhart inspired colorway. Now, I don't even have this yarn yet. It is predominantly a brown color with some beige and little pops of red. Very, very pretty, very appropriate. And this is the sock pattern to go along with it. Like last year, Beth has designed sock patterns to go with many of Krista's yarn colors that she'll be releasing throughout the year. I believe she has 6 patterns, 3 for DK weight, 3 for sock weight or fingering weight. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you, I will include the link to the Frosted Stitch's website. You can check out all of the options to subscribe. If you're wanting to subscribe for the year, January 10th is the deadline. There is an option to subscribe just for the sock kit, so that includes the pattern plus the yarn to make the socks. There's a heck of a lot of other options. You can also just order month by month. So yeah, while I do not have any of the yarns in my possession yet, I have seen what they look like for the year. There are some incredible colors. There's some really, really interesting themes for the months. Yeah, my little archaeologist heart is certainly happy with some of these. Amelia Earhart, I certainly remember reading a book about her and her disappearance probably when I was in high school. Yeah, so very cool, awesome stuff coming up. And if the yarn is not your jam, you can still check out Beth's patterns. So this is a nice kind of basic lace design, good little introduction to lace in general, and again, DK weight. Nice and quick sock design. The other test knit that I did was for Johanna Schutz of Yarn Me Up, and it is the Cilia hoodie. This thing is a beast. I'm probably gonna have to stand up to show it. So it is a hooded sweater. Okay, I'm showing that off pretty pretty well. So there's the hood flopping over there. Got our sleeves. And the back has this beautiful cable design. It is made in bulky weight. I used Lion Brand's alpaca blend in meadow green. The fuzz, which I'm assuming is coming from the alpaca content, gets everywhere. And even I had popped this in the dryer a bit to speed up drying after blocking, and it took out so much fuzz, and still it is shedding quite a bit. But this is such a nice, like, cozy, comfy thing to throw on. It's been kind of like my at-home lounging around sweater. It fits really comfortably with nice loose sleeves. There's this pretty detail from the lateral braids on the cuff, and it does have a folded over cuff. One thing I hadn't really considered is how long it takes a bulky weight sweater to dry in the winter. I very, very, very rarely resort to putting knits in the dryer. In fact, I'm terrified of it. I had this sitting on blocking mats for a couple of days, and it was still so wet. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna try it. Put it for a little bit with some wool dryer balls, checked on it repeatedly. Everything looked fine. So I ran it in the dryer a couple of times, and it is completely fine. And it certainly helped to speed up the dry, but maybe something I should keep in mind next time I plan a bulky or even worsted weight garment while in the winter. Maybe even wait until it gets warmer to properly block it, but yeah. So I believe this is releasing in the next week or so. So watch out for this. Lovely, lovely, cozy sweater. Quite a bit of positive ease on it. I haven't taken my modeled pictures of it yet, but that should be coming soon. Another thing that I finished is the citrus hat, and I am blanking on the designer's name, but I knit this using my own hand spun. The contrast at the bottom is a Barocco vintage DK. Some leftovers that I had kicking around, but the rest is my hand spun. This is hand spun that my partner right away just loved, so I knit him a hat out of it. So this is another thing that I want to be doing more of, is knitting up my hand spun, because I have a growing collection of it. It is so nice and thick and woolly. This was a mystery fiber from a Art by Anna box. I just grabbed all of the chunks that were in similar green tones. I used kind of natural tones and some grays in there. Spun it up in a random order, plied it on itself, and this is what happened. And I really love this sort of striping pattern. There's bits where it barber poled and you see that marling. So yeah, the pattern showcased the hat quite well. I have a little bit of the hand spun left. It worked up as sort of more like a worsted weight. I have no idea what I'm going to do with the leftovers. Kind of thinking of perhaps doing a crochet, at least start with squares or hexies with the leftovers, just to kind of chronicle my hand spun. But yeah, I'll have to decide on something. So those or at least knits that I finished. I, of course, have some finished hand spun because I can't not spin. I have yarn that I spun on my wheel, which is a Ashford Kiwi 3, using samples from the Provenance yarn subscription that I had. I had 3 months worth. For this one, I did 1 ply in a oh gosh, what the heck was that? I want to say the brown is a Shetland with some dyed mohair. So those little bits of fluff are actually in the brown ply, but they match so well with this pink Corriedale that I spun a second ply of that pink Corriedale and then just plied the two together. This was really just having fun with it, letting the yarn be what it wanted to be. I had some leftovers of that pink Corriedale, which I did a really bad attempt at chain ply. But anyways, here it is. It's a little too tight. But anyways. Also, for Christmas, I got a electric eel wheel 6.1 e-spinner. And of course I had to play with it right away. I tested it out using more mystery fiber from Art by Anna's mystery box, the gift that keeps on giving. This was a red fiber with a lot of sparkle and a lot of recycled sari silk. I just spun it how it wanted to go and plied it on itself. And this, oh my God, look at all that sparkle. So you can see those little chunks of sari silk adding some color. Oh my God, there's so much glitter. Let's see if maybe they're okay. A little bit less of it coming out there, but yeah. This is about 115 yards or so. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I was fairly consistent. I got the hang of the e-spinner pretty quickly, so that was really fun. It is very nice that it is so portable. I don't have a battery pack for it yet, but I'm certainly considering one. So for now, I have to plug it in. I'm surprised by how much I like it. Originally, I thought that an e-spinner would be really tricky, and I've certainly heard that it's maybe not the best thing for people to learn on, but perhaps now having the hang of the traditional treadle wheel, it is working quite well for me. Let's bump up the brightness a little bit here. Okay, so as I said, focusing on whips and just trying to work through stash, enjoy what I have. This month I seem to have taken a bit of a theme with working on advents, and this includes my spinning. So spinning, I'm playing around with my e-spinner still, but I am working on spinning the yarn I got, or the fiber that I got from the Akara Rose winter box, which was my first fiber box. It is beautiful. And coincidentally, my cousin had bought me 3 braids of Akara Rose's fiber at Knit City, Toronto, when I had first gotten my spinning wheel. And she bought me 3 braids of the Merino Alpaca Camel Silk blend, which happens to be what I got in that winter solstice box. And a lot of those colors go really well between the winter box and the braids I already had. So I've split the stuff from the winter solstice box into 3 separate spinning projects. So there will be 2 2-ply spins and 1 3-ply spin. I have already started on the full 4-ounce braid that came with the box. It is lovely shades of green in a gradient. I'm going to pair that. So I'm going to be using these 4 that came from the solstice box as the second ply. So I think I'm going to spin each individually, so it'll be kind of like a gradient. Okay. The second spin. So this is one of the braids my cousin got me at Knit City. The colorway is Weathered Wood. I love this bluish purpley color. And I'm going to be doing 1 ply of this and 1 ply of these 4. So again, going with sort of a gradient. I think they complement each other so well. It just worked out so perfectly. And then the third will be the 3-ply. So I will be using this braid, which is Rose Bushes. Second braid's hiding at the bottom. There we go. This one, which is Lakefront. So you can already see how, actually it's got some of the blues in the other one, but it's got this teal that I really wanted to play with. And then the 3rd ply will be, that's stuck. So the 3rd ply will be these 4. So really bringing out that teal that is in these 2 braids. So those are the spin projects that I'm going to be working on. I haven't decided if I'm going to do one of these on my kiwi or if I'm going to do them all on the e-spinner. Right now it's been really nice to have the e-spinner out in the living room so I can hang out with my partner while he watches TV. Okay. All right. For my knitting projects, I am focusing on 2 right now. So 2 whips. 1, so continuing with the Advent mini box, whatever theme. You've seen this one before. This is the Moving Forward wrap, which I had started, is that in October? I feel like that was in October. Maybe it was November. It's all a blur. Anyways, this thing. This is a pattern by Denise Byron. It is originally written for just 1 color, but I'm striping the main color and then having all of the mini skeins from, I believe this is the 2022 Pirates winter box from the Frosted Stitch. I am not quite halfway through it yet, but this is a really nice kind of easy, don't really have to think about it knit. So that I have on hand as a contrast to my other projects that I'm working on. And this is a long forgotten whip. These are the Branches socks. I don't remember who the designer is, but this is from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. I started these socks in May of 2022. I got up to and had started the heel flap and then abandoned it. I think I had lost my count and just put it aside and didn't bother with it. So I have forced myself to pick it back up, figured out where I was because I had nothing written down, which is great when you've got 2 ongoing lace charts to do. Also didn't have where I was on the heel flap, but I think I figured it out. Anyways, I have since finished the heel flap, turned the heel, and I am just starting the toe right now. So finally, I am going to finish at least the first sock. I want to knit the pair. Honestly, at this point, it's almost like a hate knit. Not that I hate the pattern, not that I have any problems with it. It's just, I don't know. It's almost like this yarn itself is cursed. The story behind this yarn. So this is Patton's Croy FX in copper colors. Really nice colors. No complaints on that. I got this yarn, and with this yarn, I attempted my very first pair of socks. Given that I'm using this yarn on this sock, you can probably tell that I did not succeed. That first pair of socks. I got to the heel flap again. And at that time, like, turning a heel is freaking magical and crazy if you've not done one before. I didn't understand what the heck was going on, abandoned it, eventually frogged that early sock. I picked it back up for this pattern and abandoned that one on the heel flap. So I am finally getting it done. We are laying to rest this yarn, so it cannot curse me anymore. We are conquering that curse. So, yes, there's a lot wrapped up into this whole project. It is a beautiful lace design. So there is one chart for the top, and there are 2 ongoing designs. One kind of column that goes down the middle and down the sides, and a wider lace design on either side that continues onto the foot. It is really cool with that gradient going through. I really like this dark tone. I wish there was more of that, but my original intent was for these to be a gift for my dad's wife, and I had to knit her another sock because I never finished these. So I am actually going to finish these for her. Plus, she doesn't have big feet like I do, so I don't have to go quite as long, which is probably a good thing because this is how much I have left to finish the toe. If you're not familiar, the Patton's Croy comes into 50-gram balls, so you likely need 2 balls to do 1 pair of full-length socks. So yes, I am happy to almost be done with this sock. So yeah, I am proud of myself for digging up that long languishing whip, for tackling it again and actually getting it done. So I'm not even, technically I finished that hat this year I had cast it on before the year started, but I want to finish at least one of the moving forward or the 2 branches socks before I cast on something else. I don't know what that'll be yet. I have promised my partner a pair of socks. He has yarn picked out. I have to have him pick out a pattern. So that might be it. Of course, I have a long list of things that I want to cast on, but I'm not making myself stick to a make 9 or anything like that because I've long learned that I don't stick to that. I would like to focus on knitting from stash and knitting patterns that I have already purchased and saved and have had the intention of knitting for a long time, but there's always so many new and beautiful designs coming out. So we will see how that goes as things evolve. Yes, so I mentioned that starting the new year with a cold isn't great, especially the term started yesterday. I fully gave myself permission to take a break during our winter break from the university, and no regrets. I definitely needed it, but I approached it with the intention of doing much of my prep work last week, and given that I was sick, I ended up kind of scrambling at the last minute this weekend to get my syllabus together, to get I'm teaching an online course, so get that set up. Yeah, so first day of class yesterday was kind of chaotic, but I'm here, I'm still standing, it's fine. As I feel like I probably said last year in my very first episode, the winter term is so different from the fall term. Like fall term, we've got this fresh energy from the new like school year, right? Everything's all new. We've had a good long break, and the winter term, everybody seems so much more tired. And it's kind of like, oh shit, we have to do this again. That's not necessarily my attitude, but just kind of how I feel seeing everybody else. But I always enjoy kind of the opportunity for a fresh start, right? Each term is a new group of students, new group of classes. Everything is starting afresh, and that's always nice. In terms of reading, I think the only book I finished was Fate of the Tearling. So I finally finished that trilogy. It ended quite well. Yeah. It didn't seem like one where they're, oh shit, it's the 3rd book and I need to finish this. Since I have started Moi Tituba Social de Célium by Maryse Condé, it is a fictional take on kind of true story. It follows a woman, Tituba, who was born in slavery, and some of the challenges that I'm sure you can imagine from life in slavery. The plantation that she lived on was sold to somebody, so she became in his possession, and he moved to Boston. So she came along with her husband, and this relates to the Salem witch trials. I don't know a great deal about the Salem witch trials. I know we read The Crucible in grade 12, and like there's a name that I've seen, Abigail Williams, and I'm like, that sounds familiar. I think she was involved in the whole thing. And I seem to remember something about blaming the slave working for the family for things. So yeah, there's a couple of things that are coming back to me, but I'm not letting myself like look into the history just so I am not critiquing any, historical inaccuracies. But anyways, I ended up coming upon this book because I had seen a book club that was reading it. And after seeing that it was originally written in French, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to read in French. Again, Maryse Condé passed away, I think, this year, but she was a very well regarded author. I've never read any of her books, but so far so good. I have also started, because I can't not read nonfiction, All That Is Wicked. The name of the author is escaping me, but it is about Edward Roloff, who was a serial killer. Yeah, I guess you could say he's a serial killer. He fits the technical definition. In the 1840s in the US, he's kind of an interesting case in that he turned a lot of public perceptions around because he was a very kind of gentlemanly, knowledgeable, kind of portrayed himself as a sort of professor, academic type. So it was counter to the perceptions that people had of a criminal and murderer and whatnot. It's almost like like he countered beliefs quite a bit. And a lot of the book seems to be about his story as well as the public negotiations with perceptions of him. Apparently there's a university in New York that still has his brain in a jar, and it was remarkably large. Not that that means anything about intelligence, but yes, he's certainly been a curiosity and remains a curiosity because of these sort of characters within himself that at least, well, while we can't diagnose him today, there's a lot of talk that he likely, had he been around today, would have been a psychopath or a narcissist or malignant narcissist, one of those things. So, yeah. Canada Reads, the long list is releasing on the 9th, so I will be diving into that, as is my yearly tradition, very soon. But I've been enjoying reading, which I hadn't for a bit of a stretch, so that's a nice little relief. Yeah, the new year has been strange. Like, I don't feel like I've had that energy because I was sick, but it's not like you have to wait for January 1st for a fresh start. You can decide today's the fresh start, so we're starting now. Yeah, I always like that fresh energy, but I am looking forward to the new year, looking forward to fresh new things, fresh new projects, eventually starting new things, but not abandoning the old and actually finishing stuff. So I'm looking forward to certainly finishing these branches socks, making some progress on my moving forward shawl, seeing what I can spin up before I see you next. Until then, I hope that the new year has been treating you well. Please let me know what your goals are, at least in terms of your crafting. Do you have any goals? Do you prefer to just embrace the chaos and do whatever pleases? Or are you trying to gear it in a specific way? I'd love to hear. I love seeing people's goals and their planning, even if you don't follow it. That's great. At least it's something that informs you for a little bit until it no longer serves you. I am just really chatty, so I'm gonna stop before this gets much longer. All right. Have a great one, everyone. Happy New Year. I will see you in a month or so. Bye-bye.